It is hard to imagine any intelligent politician who knew even a paragraph of Bob Woodward's biography thinking that he could count on Woodward giving him perpetually positive coverage. Our fourth story in the countdown. On the other hand, there's President Bush. Reported by the New York Daily News, Washington Bureau Chief Tom DeFrank is feeling betrayed by his people who cooperated with Woodward for Woodward's third book, described as having steam coming out of his ears over the Republican congressional sex scandal. Mr. DeFrank joins us in a moment. Mr. Bush evidently thought he had tripped some momentum after the 9/11 anniversary speech, but then came Woodward's state of denial, portraying an administration that is dysfunctional and not truthful. The president is now furious with former aides who spoke with Woodward, one source saying, quote, he's ticked off big time even if what they said was the truth. As for the Mark Foley scandal, the president's mindset appears to mirror that of the public. Sources saying the president thinks the House Speaker, Mr. Hastert, and other Republican leaders made a mess of their handling of the scandal and that they look like they are involved in a cover-up of some sort. According to someone who speaks with the president regularly, quote, there's steam coming out of his ears over the Foley thing. The base is starting to get turned off again. As promised, we're joined now by the Washington Bureau Chief of the New York Daily News, Thomas DeFrank. Thanks for your time tonight, Tom.
Hi, Keith.
The Woodward stuff first. Your piece suggests that somehow the president was surprised by all the negative revelations. Did he not know it was coming? Did he just assume after the first two books that Woodward was somehow on board?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I don't think he knew the extent of the portrait that Bob Woodward paints. It's really a lurid portrait of a chaotic, backbiting, dysfunctional administration that doesn't tell the truth all the time. And obviously the president doesn't agree with that characterization. I do think there is a sense of the White House that Woodward was pretty friendly in his first two books, and they must have had a feeling this was going to be the same. On the other hand, this time the president did not give Bob Woodward an interview, so they had to know that based on some of his earlier interviews, I suppose, that this was not going to be as happy an event as the first two books for them.
Part of that key quote you use about those who talked to Woodward, even if what they said was the truth, but it was Andy Card who wanted the president to dump Secretary Rumsfeld, and it was Vice President Cheney who apparently inadvertently told Woodward about the Henry Kissinger role as an advisor on Iraq. Is Mr. Bush thought to be mad at them?
I don't know about the vice president, but I'm told that he was not real happy with Andy Card. On the other hand, Andy Card was invited by the president to go down on Air Force One with him last Saturday for the christening of the aircraft carrier George H.W. Bush. So criminologists will have to figure out what that meant. But, you know, I've covered the Bushes, father and son, for more than 30 years now. And in the Bush universe, just talking out of school is the ultimate act of disloyalty. And this portrait, this very unflattering portrait that Bob Woodward paints, is basically fueled by interviews with a lot of former aides, and the president is really ripped about that.
Then there is the impact and whether he's ripped on the Foley scandal. The picture you paint in your piece of the president privately believing Congress made a mess out of it, even though he's planning to appear publicly with Speaker Hastert, and White House Press Secretary Snow keeps saying, we're minding our own business, let Congress handle it. How are they walking that tightrope?
Well, one of the dirty little secrets in this Bush government, Keith, is that there's always been a lot of friction between the congressional Republicans and this White House. The congressional Republicans say they've always given us the back of the hand. Their idea of consulting is to say, this is what the president wants. We expect you to support us. The White House has complained in the past that they have not been very supportive. So there's always been a lot of friction. That's getting better because Josh Bolten and Rob Portman, the new OMB director, and Bolton, the chief of staff, have done a pretty good job of trying to mend some fences on the Hill. But still there's some tension there. And the president, I'm told by people who talk to him all the time, really feels like the House Republicans have messed this up by making it look like there was a cover-up. And he thinks there's been a lot of bungling. And the bottom line with both these things, the Woodward book and the Foley scandal and the way it's spun out, is for the better part of 2.5 weeks or so, the president hadn't been able to talk about things he wants to talk about because all these things have sucked the air out of official Washington.
And is that to conclude the feeling among his confidant, the one that you've had access to, that's why he is out on the campaign trail frothing at the mouth and really having sort of erased that line between telling sort of redirected truths about the Democrats into just stuff that he's made up out of thin air?
Well, that's your characterization,
Sure.
not mine. But all I can say is the president was going to be out in October for 15 days, and I think the plan always was for him to really throw out some red meat there. So but I do think that these two problems, the book and the Foley scandal, has given Bush and Cheney and all of them a sense of urgency. So maybe there is a little bit more, I think there clearly is an edge to the rhetoric, more of an edge to the rhetoric, and I think that's probably a direct result.
More eloquently stated than I could have. Thank you kindly. Tom DeFrank of the New York Daily News, as always, sir, great. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot.